So this lesson is going to be on a Fred McDowell song called Goin Down the River. And to get your guitar in the same tuning as his guitar, you'll have to tune to Vestapol. That's open D tuning with a capo on the 3rd fret. So I'll have that below in the info section. Of course, you'll need a bottleneck slide for this song. And you've probably noticed that I'm not in my typical video teaching spot today, so you'll have to bear with me. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll go through the song once and then we'll get into the lesson. Going Down the River starts with that little riff that he plays throughout the song. So that riff starts with 2 bass notes on the bottom string, and then what he does is a double stop on the 3rd string open, and then the 4th string fretted on the 1st fret. And with that fretted note, what you're going to do is just pull off, and then you hit that 3rd string again. So bass notes, and then it's followed up by a little sliding sequence of notes on the bottom strings. So what he does is little slide on the bottom string up to the 3rd fret, open, then sliding into the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and then the moment you enter in that 5th fret, you hit the 3rd string open. And that is the entire lick. So again, it's just very simple. Now, he might throw in certain little variations. For instance, one thing that he plays a lot is... So you probably heard that there's just a little bend in the 4th string on the 2nd fret. And when you hit that little bend, it's still a double stop with the 3rd string open. And if you're going to play that variation, you'll only be hitting the bass note once. So now when he starts singing for the first few bars, it's actually just a little monotonous bass line on the bottom string, quarter notes usually, and then he'll just kind of fiddle around with something on the treble side similar to that riff. So as you can hear, it's just very similar. For this particular example, it's 5th string, and then 4th string, same pull off, into that root. And then once you finish that, again for just this particular example, he'll change it up sometimes and play the riff inside a verse, but oftentimes not. What he'll do is once he finishes that little thing that he'll play while he sings. He'll hit the bass notes twice again and then play a little riff. Now that riff in particular is 5th string into the 3rd fret. And in Fred McDowell fashion, it would be good to add in a lot of vibrato. And after you hit that little sliding thing with an open string, he'll play this. Now that little thing with a slide is played starting on the 4th string. You slide from the 2nd into the 1st fret. Okay? And then you come back up the fretboard, but on a different string, on the 3rd string. So, you slide up on that 3rd string. Once you get into about the 3rd fret, you hit it open. So I would get really comfortable with that particular lick, because it's very common, not just in Fred McDowell songs, but in, you know, any kind of pre-war Robert Johnson, Charlie Patton, all of that stuff, and also stuff like Elmore James, Duane Allman, Derek Trucks. This particular move is everywhere. So yeah, get comfortable with that one. And what he'll do after that is just riff around with that thing a couple more times. Maybe a bend variation. And it's not really cut and dry how many times he might play that riff in between, say, the 1 chord and the 4 chord. Sometimes he'll play it twice, sometimes 3 times, sometimes even 4 times. So it really depends when you go playing the song, what you feel like. Sometimes, you know, maybe you can make yourself just play it twice, but I like to just fiddle around with it, and when you're ready to get into the next section, then you can get into it. So the next section at this time is just going to be this little riff. So this is very Charlie Patton-esque, hitting kind of 8th notes on that 4 chord. So that's just on the 5th fret, on the 4th and 5th strings. And then after you hit that, I think about 8 times, what you do is you kind of play something similar to that break you played earlier. But of course you'll probably want to change it up, so you could really do anything. So anything will work, and then he'll just get back into that riff. Now in the example, when I was playing this a couple minutes ago, what I did is something I'm not sure if he does in the recording, but if you want to know, it's just coming up to the octave on the top 2 strings, and then coming down the fretboard on the 5th and 4th strings. So up on the top 2 strings, down on the 5th and 4th strings. Now it's not something, all those little variations aren't obviously things that you want to play over and over again. You know, the more scarce they are, the more effect that they'll have. So make sure to keep that in mind. So once he gets into what is technically the turnaround, he does a little riff that is very typical among pre-war blues players, like especially Charlie Patton, Robert Johnson. This little riff. You can hear that on, say, Muddy Waters playing Rollin' and Tumblin'. Robert Johnson playing Travelin' Riverside Blues, or Charlie Patton playing Batty Rooster Blues. So what he's doing is just hitting that bottom string open a couple times and then sliding into the 3rd fret, then hitting it open again, then coming up to about the 6th fret as if you're playing a bend, as players would later do with this sequence of notes, probably, you know, 50s, 60s, up to obviously today. So 6th fret, kind of hitting it a few times, and then 5th fret, and then open, back into the 3rd fret. So as you can see, you're going to be hitting open, the open string in between a lot of times. And then to further finish it off, what he does is, you know, just as you can expect, a few more of those open position riffs.